Welcome to TGIF.
You know those ads that try to convince you that if you purchase their product, this, and this is going to be the outcome? Mm-hmm. I mean, when you think about it, the ads, it's a vast array of products, and from cars, from weight loss, food, you name it. And when you really get down to it, the information often
takes us to the word of the day, which is misleading.
Misleading in the way they worded it just right so that you think it's going to give you the outcome. So I guess, it should be a little bit of illegal in there, right?
Yeah.
But there's misleading information all the time. And sometimes we go way too far down that trail, and then to find out it's misleading. I think that's kind of where we're going today.
Absolutely, because we're going to get to the heart of the issue, and that's where Jeremiah has, he's got a tough job. Last week we did just that opening chapter. The mission he has is hard. It's to bring, a heavy prophecy towards the people of God. But now we're getting into the meat of it, right? We are looking at chapter 17, verses 9 through 11.
The human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. Who really knows how bad it is? But I, the Lord, search all hearts and examine secret motives. I give all people their due rewards according to what their actions deserve. Like a partridge that hatches eggs she has not laid, so are those who get their wealth by unjust means. At midlife, they will lose their riches. In the end, they will become poor, old fools.
That's heavy, and there's a lot there. And you might ask yourself, wow, we jumped to chapter 17. Well, we're in chapters 2 through 20, so that is a big chunk of real estate reading. But chapter 17, everything before that too, it's just going through how the pride of Israel has gotten in the way of worshiping God. And so we read about Jeremiah. We read about Jeremiah and his struggles and how, this is not easy. There's people that flat out want to kill him, for what he's saying. But there's also these other prophets in there that are talking to the king. And you know how sometimes, credible people, you think, who's the credible person here? And it's so easy when the world is pulling God's people into worshiping other idols. They've been down the road before, right? If they read their own history, this is the same old road. But it does become a little more disguised. And I think even in today's world that we live in, it's a little more disguised than, the people of the ancient times. And so, what's interesting to me about Jeremiah is he has some very honest conversations with God. And when you think about, Moses, when you think about David, those are two men also that have these very open and forthcoming conversations with God about, hey, this is where I'm at, and what's going on, and trying to get to that. But we always see in both of them how much they were chasing after God. Same is the case with Jeremiah. And so he freely expresses complaints to God about this predicament and what he's been called to do. But God responds how? Filled with patience. And I think sometimes, God is so patient with me sometimes. It's like I think, that I'm doing it all God's way, and then just to come find out, I kind of got sucked into the world things again, misled into the world things. And so I think it's a real testimony of an honest conversation with God about the things that are going on in your life, but also remembering, God is so patient with us, and God does not give up on us. I think people sometimes think that God gives up on them.
And our heart, although we always hope it's in the right place, it's very easy for things to be misleading in what we think is right or wrong. They always say was it right, wrong, or a gray area? Well, what is a gray area? And it goes back to those motives. God knows the motives within our heart and where those motives can lead us. And sometimes I don't think we're completely honest with what's really in our heart. And maybe that's how we end up in some of the places that we do, going in the wrong direction. We've got to come back to the heart of God.
Yeah, but think about how many times you've heard somebody say, well, just follow your heart. No, that's bad wisdom, bad wisdom. And that's why chapter 17 probably carries one of the strongest statements in the Bible about the heart. I mean, this is right after, right? The human heart is the most kind of deceitful, a little deceitful? No, the most deceitful of all things. And so it's desperately wicked. So when people say, well, just follow your heart, you say, that's a bad idea. I need to follow God and follow God's heart. Yes, and I think that's key here.
And I think it's trying to, through our relationship with God, we're always working to perfection. We won't be here on this side, but we're always working toward within the vein, the heart of God. Like, what's the heart of God? Now, we won't be able to fully ever embrace that because we're human, but our heart, do we want what we want or do we want what God wants? That's the heart of the matter. Our way or God's way.
I think when Jeremiah's having this honest conversation with God, he's like, he doesn't say it in so much, but I get the sense that he's like, God, can I have an easier mission? This is an incredibly hard mission, and the people want to kill me, and are you sure? And that's one of the times that I think we find ourselves in those same places. God, are you sure this is what you want to do with my life? Are you sure that this is how it goes? Because I think sometimes we just want the American dream rather than God's plan for our lives. And I think that they're very different. Like a partridge that hatches eggs she has not laid, so are those who get their wealth by unjust means. So if you look up a partridge is fascinating. It's kind of a smaller pheasant, but a little bigger quail. And these partridges, they lay like 20 eggs. Think about that sized bird sitting on 20 eggs. It requires other partridges to come alongside there and help them to hatch those eggs. So God is pointing out here, the one partridge that is sitting on eggs that aren't even its own, but is hatching it, because it's all God's. It's all God's. And so, like the partridge, like us, do we give credit that this is all yours, God? What do you want to do with it? And then try to stay away from the deceitfulness of the worldly enticements, entanglements. That's hard.
And it would be a little easier if it wasn't so easy to get drawn into the worldly things. But I think it continually gets to be easier to be drawn into because things are faster, quicker, prettier, all the things.
And I think sometimes they look at, like, you think of, well, I can get this, but for just a little bit more, I could step up to this. And then a little bit more, I could step up to that. I think that's the problem. Trying to stay in a humble place with the things we have. And we're going to learn a little bit about that next week.
So the question we give you to reflect on and discuss, do you check your heart motives with God before you act, knowing the heart is deceitful? So wake up every day, I guess. Here's a little, when you wake up, just, we say to connect to God, to pray and just give your day to God. But what if we're really open and recognizing and being honest with ourselves that I know my heart, there's deceit in my heart, just in the human heart. Lord, show me where it's my heart's deceitfulness that's taking me in the wrong direction. I mean, that's not a great prayer. It's not a happy prayer, but
it's honesty, and that's what Jeremiah was doing. And I think that's what Moses and David, the men and women that chase after God, are honest where their heart is.
Yeah, so check your heart and go ahead and read Jeremiah 21 through 29, and you'll be ready for the next TGIF. Make a great day. Bye.